Let's move on and let's add the wings. So I'll press again Ctrl Command O to open this window and choose the angel wing from the stock folder. And this is the wing, and I'll use the polygonal lasso tool to select this part. And I'll use this other feather to add a detail here, but let's add the wings here. We will add them under the singer layer. To press Ctrl V to paste the wing there. Let's name this left wing. And I'll turn this into a smart object because I want to make them smaller, like so. Just a bit bigger. Something like that. And just a bit lower. You can use the arrow keys, and if you press the shift key, you'll move in, I think, in 5 pixel increments. I'm not sure. And now I'll duplicate that, pressing Control or Command J. If you do that, you will duplicate the smart object. So if you make a change to one of these smart objects, I'll show you that. I have a duplicate of that, and I'll flip it horizontally. And I'll show you what I mean by that, just in case you didn't know. I'll just turn it slightly and maybe change the size of it, not too much, so that it doesn't look too identical to the other one. What I was saying about the smart object is, if you have a smart object and if you press Ctrl or Command J to duplicate it, what you will do is duplicate the same smart object. And if you make a change to the original smart object, you will also affect the copy. So in this case, the right wing here is a copy of this one. So what I will do is open the left wing, I'll double click on it, and I'll show that I'll add an adjustment layer to it, hue saturation, for example. I'll choose colorize, I'll make it red, and I'll close this, and it'll ask me if I want to save this as a PSB file, and I'll choose yes, I want to save it. And you can see that both are red because this is the same smart object, even though it's on another layer. So if you want to have independent smart object, what you can do is right click and choose new smart object via copy, okay? And that way you create another smart object. Let's undo that, remove this adjustment and save this again. And now we have the original wings. And all we need to do now is add the fire, but I want to place the wings just a bit lower, something like that, and maybe turn them slightly. So just adjust the position, and we have our wings. I'll group that, and I'll change the name of this group to wings. And in Photoshop CS6 you can apply layer styles to a whole group, so you can do that. In previous versions you couldn't do that. So if I want to add, for example, an inner shadow, I could do that. I can change the angle and add a sort of a light effect here, because we will add the fire, change the blend mode to color dodge, and it looks like now we have this wings on fire, but I will not do that. I will use the fire instead, and we'll see what we get. Well, before adding the fire, let's add that feather that I was talking about. So I'll create a new layer below the wings and go back to this stock image and just select this feather here and paste it here and just move it down a bit. Of course, I'll have to make it smaller. And I'll place it here and maybe make a duplicate of that. Flip it horizontally and maybe turn it around a bit. And I'll place it somewhere here. And we will add some fire on this one as well. And if you want to really go beyond that, you can create another layer below that and call it feather shadow, and with a soft brush just paint a shadow under this feathers here, just to give it a bit more dimension, a bit more depth. And we're good to go. Let's minimize this wings folder. Let's go on top of everything, and remember that we have these two adjustments on top of our composition. So I'll create a new layer, and this will actually be a group. Let's press Ctrl G and name this group fire, and this will be our first layer. and go to open our stock folder, and select, let's start with this stock image. So we will use this as for our wings. So select everything, press Ctrl C to copy it. Let me close this and go back to my canvas. So I will paste the fire here, and of course you can see that it's not looking too nice. And since we have this on a black background, we can get rid of that really easily by changing the blend mode to screen. And you can see that now we only have the fire and the background is gone. If you still see some edges, in this case the background was perfectly black, so there was it was pure black. If you see some edges, what you can do is, with the fire layer selected, press Ctrl or Command L, and that will bring up the levels. And all you need to do is move the slider to the left, this left slider, move it to the right, sorry, and that way you will make the shadows even darker, and that way you get rid of the background completely. And I'll have to make this image smaller, pressing Ctrl or Command T to load the free transform. Press and hold the Shift key so that you constrain the proportions, because you don't want to do things like that. And make it smaller. Let's put it here, see more or less how big we want to have this. Something like that. Rotate it just a bit. And what you can do in order to adapt this to the wings is press right click and choose warp, and get the edges and warp them like that. Okay, don't warp it too much, better use a layer mask. So I'll actually not warp it, because I don't want to distort the image. You will lose quality if you warp it. I'll just make it smaller and turn it slightly like so. I'll place it here a bit bigger. And what I don't want to do is, I don't want to get rid of this part here, because this is texture and it will make it look like this parts of the wing are in fire as well. I'll create a layer mask for this. Get the brush tool, use a soft brush, make sure the opacity and the flow are to 100%. Foreground color set to black, and just mask with a soft brush the edges like so. Okay. So we have our first fire there. Let's open another stock image. Let's choose this one, for example. Just use as many fire images as you have. I don't really like this one. Use as many images of fire as you have, so that you have some variation. We can also use this one. Again, the same process. Paste it here. You can see this one is really, really big. So make sure you make it smaller. I don't even know if I really like this one, but let's leave it here. Change the blend mode to screen. But you can see that it's not looking good. We have all these edges here. So what I will do is press Ctrl or Command L and just move this slider until I get rid of the background almost completely. Okay, so I'll place it here, and I'll have to create another layer mask for this and just get rid of everything that I don't want on the image. Maybe rotate it slightly. And one thing you can notice is that this one has a slightly different color and has more contrast than this one. So all you have to do is open the hue saturation with Ctrl U or Command U, and maybe decrease a bit the saturation, or maybe change the hue if the colors don't match, and make them match to the other fire. Let's say about 3, and maybe decrease the saturation, but not too much. Okay, so, or the other thing you can do is make the other one match the second fire. So you can use the levels on the first one and maybe increase the contrast a bit, like so. Okay, so it's just a matter of using levels and hue saturation. Let's open another fire image. Let's choose this one and select this part of the smoke and the fire. Copy it, close it, and paste it over my image. Change the blend mode to screen again. open the levels, move the slider to the left, to the right, sorry, and let's paste it here. Let's place it there and make it smaller. And in this case, I only want this part here, so I'll create a layer mask and I'll mask everything. Okay, like that. And I'll probably duplicate this layer and move it maybe here and mask this part here. Okay, so we're almost done. I need more texture on this part of the wing, so what I will do is open the first image again, which was this one, and I want to copy this lower part, this one, and paste again here. I'll make it smaller, like so. Place it here and change the blend mode to screen again. And I'll create a layer mask for it, but this time I want to just mask the edges a bit, like so. Okay, and that way I have a bit more texture over the wing here. I could even place it lower, like so, and mask the edges really carefully, like that. And I see this other fire, see that? We have fire here and we have to remove that. So this was the layer, get the brush tool and mask the fire there and here. And we also have this one. I have this piece of fire here, I don't know from which layer, but one way of finding out is select the move tool, press and hold the controller command key and click, and it will select the layer that belongs to this part here. Okay, so get the brush tool now that I have identified the layer and mask that part which I don't need. And the same thing here, I don't know which layer it is. I have this, see this part of fire here. I don't know which layer is from, so what I'll do is with the move tool selected, press and hold the controller command key, click, and it will select the layer for me. Now select the layer mask and just mask this part. So now we have the fire for the right wing, and what I will do is select all the layers and create another group inside this fire group, and let's name this right fire. And one thing one advice that I would give you is not to duplicate this group and put it on the other side. It will look as a copy, so it will look identical to this one, so don't do that. What you can do though is, if you really want to do that, is duplicate the group, place the fire here and change the order, change the position of the flames. But what I will do is create the layers myself and add the fire manually. It's not really that difficult. So I'll select this one, Control C, Control W, Control V. So with the keyboard shortcuts, it's really fast. That's why I always say try to use the keyboard shortcuts. I know it's not really easy at the beginning, but on the long run it will be a lot faster for you. It will speed up your workflow. Let's set the blend mode to screen and see what I was talking about, these edges here, because the background is not really black. So what I will do is open the levels, not too much, and I want to have a bit more light on the fire, so I'll bring up the midtones and the highlights slightly. So let's add this fire here, and you can see it's over the woman's hand. I'll show you how to fix that. It doesn't really bother me that it's on top of the woman's hand. I'll show you how to fix that. I'll open another fire, which is this one. So try to have different fire stock images. On DeviantArt you will find tons of them for free, so you don't have to buy them. I purchased a few ones from Deposit Photos, but you can download free ones. Change the blend mode to screen again. I'll flip it horizontally, like so. And the reason why I like this stock image is because you have this texture here on the bottom, and that's really nice. It looks really nice on the wings. So I'll place this one here. And one thing I will do before I add more fire is select these two layers, which are from the left wing. Press Ctrl G to create a group, and let's name this left fire. And what I will do is add a layer mask on this group. So I'll create a layer mask. If you have a previous version of Photoshop and you cannot create a layer mask for the group, what you can do is do the same technique that I will do now for each layer. And the technique consists of creating a layer for this a layer mask for this group. Then I'll scroll down until I find the layer of the woman. And once you locate the layer of the woman, press and hold Ctrl or Command and click on it, and that will load the contour of the woman. And with this selection active, I'll go back to my layer mask, and with the black color selected for my foreground, I'll press and hold the Alt or Option key and press Backspace, and that will fill this selection, and it will mask this this part, and that way it looks like the fire is behind the woman. So if I deactivate this layer mask, pressing Shift and clicking on it, you will see that the fire is actually on top of the woman layer. So now I can safely move this around however I want. It will not show over the woman because this layer mask here protects me, okay, so to say. So let me undo that and keep adding more fire here. I'll add this one maybe, or this. Let's add this one. So have as many fire stock images as you can. Let's add it there. Make it smaller to about 30%. Let's see how big that is. It's still too big. And flip it horizontally. So you can see the same process over and over again. Change the blend mode to screen. Open the levels. Change the midtones and the shadows. And then with hue saturation, reduce a bit the saturation and maybe a bit the lightness. Well, let's not mess with the lightness because it will make the file look ugly. So I even desaturated too much. Let me undo that. I don't like what it did there. I'll place it here and create a layer mask for it. Okay. And the next thing that I will do is open that, well, actually have it open here, this other stock image, and paste it again. I should have downloaded a few more stock images with fire. Change the blend mode to screen. And place it right here, and I'll flip it horizontally. And place it right there. And I'll have to mask a lot here on this part. Create a layer mask and just mask the entire part here. I don't want to have duplicated fire. It will look too much fire there. Okay, so the fire on the left side, it doesn't look too good. Let me add that other part of this one here, just add a bit more texture. Right there. And just make it smaller. And change the blend mode to screen again. And create the layer mask. And mask this part here because I don't want to have fire there. I just want to have some texture there. And I'll duplicate it and probably move it right here, and I can still see some lines here. So I want to get rid of that using the brush tool to mask that part. Okay, so that's the fire here, but we still can make this We can add a bit more drama here to this fire. We can add some particles using these other stock images here. This one, you can see these particles here. This will look really good, so just select the particles themselves, copy them and close the image. And I'll add them right here on the, well, I'll actually add them on this same left wing, on the left fire group, above everything. Change the blend mode to screen. And we have to make this smaller, rotate them a bit and just add a few particles. And you can safely duplicate these ones. Nobody will tell that this is a duplicate because it's hard to identify each particle of the fire. So you can duplicate them like so. And just make another duplicate, move it here on this other side, duplicate again, rotate a bit and change position. And let's duplicate the, well, actually let's open another one because I have another stock image, this one with more particles. So add them here, change the blend mode to screen, change the size, and let's add them, well, actually let's add on the top part as well, right here. And I'll add a layer mask and just mask this top part by painting with black, like so, and duplicate. And be careful with the edges. I saw some edges right here. Let me deactivate that, so make sure you see no edges, and if you see them, just mask them with a soft brush. So there we have the particles and the fire, and everything looks nice now. We have our fire group before and after. So, oh, I see a mistake here. See the edge there? So let's expand the left fire and see which layer belongs to that. It's this one. So I'll get the layer mask for it and just mask that part, and I'll probably duplicate it and flip it a bit and add a bit more particles there. And just be careful with the edges that I was talking about. So at this point I'll leave it like it is. I think you already got the idea. So take your time and make this look realistic. And the next thing we need to do is create the light that the fire casts over the woman. So what I will do is scroll down to locate the singer layer, the woman layer, and on top of the smooth skin, well, actually on top of the hue saturation as well, I'll create another layer and clip it to the woman. And I'll name this Firelight, because I want to paint some light from the fire on the woman's body. And I'll change the blend mode of this to color dodge. Use a soft brush, and let's see what color we need to use here. With the color dodge, you need to use a dark color, a dark orange we will use in this case, because if you use a color like this, if you paint, you'll see that it's way too high and it burns the image. So use a dark tone and just paint with the soft part of the brush. Change the blend mode to color dodge. Paint with the soft part of the brush and just on the edges, because I just want to add a few lights, especially here on the highlights, and you'll see the effect in a second. And that's too strong. I'll decrease the color. Let's make it darker, sorry. That's too dark. So you have to try different colors until you find the right one. Even so, it's too strong. I'll decrease the opacity of the brush, because that way I can make several passes and I can build up the effect myself manually. Okay. So what I will do is make the color a bit brighter, because I decreased the opacity and the flow, and that way I can build up the effect, and it's a lot easier for me to work that way. Okay, and just do the same here on this part. So just with the soft part like that, with the soft part of the brush. And do the same here. And on this part of the face as well. That's too much. So here on this finger as well. I have to use a stronger, brighter color here. Probably increase a bit the opacity and the flow. So just adjusting the settings of the brush until you get the right amount of effect. I don't like how that looks. So try different color tones for each area that you want to paint, because the color dodge blend mode interacts differently depending on the color that you have that you're painting over. Okay, so let's do the same here with the microphone. And that's too strong. Something like that. Okay, so that's the effect that we got here. I should probably paint a bit more here on the neck area. That's too much. Don't overdo the effect, because it's really easy to mess up and make it look bad, so be careful. Okay, I think now it looks a bit better. You can even do that on here on the bottom, or try add some light here on this sides, or maybe on the plants here if you're good at painting. I would try, but I think it will not look nice. Let's change the blend mode to color dodge again, and you'll have to use a really dark color, but I think it's not going to look nice, but I'll try. I didn't do it on the original, just add a bit of light there, but well, it's not looking too nice. I don't really like how it looks. I'll delete it. So let's see the before and after with the slide effect. So before and after, it's enough to change the look and make it look as real fire light. I'll probably paint a bit more here on the microphone with the brighter tone. Now it will look a bit better. Okay, what you can also do if you want to try it on the Singer layer, open the layer style and use Inner Glow and change the color to this same dark orange and change the blend mode to color dodge, and that way add the same effect over the entire body, and you will probably end up a lot faster, maybe with a better result than doing it manually. So that's another option you have. So let's leave both of them. I have a bit too much light there on the face. I'll probably use the eraser tool and get rid of that. Okay, so we have our fire here, but one thing I forgot is to add a bit of fire on this feather here. So I'll expand the fire again. Press Ctrl or Command O, and I should have downloaded more fire stock images, because I don't think this will look nice for my feather here. I'll copy that part and paste it here and make it smaller. Let's see, about 10%. Maybe just a bit bigger, like so. Change the blend mode to screen. and place it right there, and maybe use the hue saturation to saturate the color a bit more. And use the layer mask to blend the edges a bit. So that's the fire on that feather there. I need a bit more contrast on it, a bit more brightness, and maybe a bit more saturation. So that's my fire there. Okay, so now we're good to go. All we need to do now is some general adjustments and the dodging and burning. Layer. So I'll create a new layer on top of everything and just name this dodge burn. And let's go to edit, choose fill and 50% gray, click OK. That will fill the layer with 50% gray, and choose the blend mode for this. Let's try soft light, and everything will become invisible. And now we get the dodge tool. This is a technique that I used a lot of times on many of my tutorials. Let's leave the exposure to about 15 and just dodge the highlights. Just enhance a bit the shapes, the highlights here on the legs, for example, and of course right here on the background as well. So don't be afraid of enhancing the highlights on this wooden planks here. Maybe here a bit on the face. So I just used the dodge tool really quick. Let's see the before and after. I added a bit of light on some places, and then with the burn tool do the same, but go over the shadows. So enhance the shadows a bit. This is really quick dodging and burning. You could spend like maybe half an hour. For this image I didn't dodge and burn too much, just some details that I thought were a bit important, but I skipped most of them. Okay, and what I could do is use the burn tool here on this parts here, but I'll increase a bit the exposure. Just on each side of these planks here. And of course you can also do the same on the sky if you want to, but I'll show you a technique to sharpen the sky and make it look a bit more dramatic. I use the filter, but you can also do it manually if you want to. So I added the dodge and burn layer. Let's see the before and after, so it just changes a bit the aspect of the image. So next let's add the final adjustments.